Kia ora. Today I'm going to show you how to make short poi using everyday materials found around your home. This is a detailed lesson, so there will be timestamps underneath the video. So in today's lesson I'm going to show you the names of different parts of the poi. We'll talk about what to look for when you're choosing materials, how to make a fluffy tail, how to measure the length of the cord so that it's a good fit for you, and how to do a 4-strand plait. And we're going to work through some of these and then I'll give you a materials list for today's lesson. So we'll start with the different parts of the poi. This is a poi that I make over at my website, so we're not going to do this particular poi today, but it serves as a good example. So there are 3 main parts to the poi. There's the upoko, or the head of the poi. It can also be called a paoro or a poro or a ball. There's the tauda, the cord that attaches to the ball, and there's also the hukahuka, or the tassels or tail at the end of the cord. So we'll look at some of the options you have for materials, and there are lots of them. The purpose of the hukahuka is to provide some grip at the end of the cord, and it also enhances the dance. So you're looking for a material that moves well and bunches well. So wool is ideal for this, but you can use string or strips of material. If you're using a plastic covered poi, then you can use strips of plastic as well. If you're only making a temporary poi to play with, then streamers or strips of paper work just as well. The purpose of the cord is to hold on to the ball as it moves through the air, so it needs to be strong, and for the particular type of cord that we're using today, we're going to plait it, so it needs to be flexible enough to plait. So again, wool is ideal for this, but you can also use string or strips of material. Now for the upoko, there's the inner core and the external dressing. So for the inner core, you can use newspaper, you can use fabric or clean rags, you can use the stuffing that comes inside some cushions and pillows and some soft toys as well. So you're looking for materials that can be moulded into a ball shape and provide a little bit of weight to the poi as well. Because if your poi is too light, then it will get affected by drag as it moves through the air. And if it's too heavy, you're going to have to compensate the cord to accommodate that extra weight. To cover the upoko, you've got a couple of options. You can use plastic bags. Now if you are purchasing new plastic bags, there are manufacturers who say their bags are biodegradable or compostable. Still check to make sure that the claims are as you believe, because if you're purchasing new plastic, make sure that it's as eco-friendly as it can possibly be. But otherwise there are plenty of options already in your whare that you can recycle. So a lot of breads come wrapped in plastic bags, a lot of cereals, and frozen foods such as frozen veggies and frozen chips. So you're looking for this kind of softer, malleable plastic, not the kind that sort of rustles and crinkles and makes a lot of noise. If you're using fabric, again, you've got lots of options. So you're looking for a fabric that you can round well, and you're going to gather it around the cord. So thicker fabrics aren't ideal because when you gather them, the gathers end up being quite large. So the tie doesn't get a good grip and it's not secure and it works its way off quite easily. Likewise, shiny materials as well. Ties find it hard to get a grip on this sort of material, so again this is likely to work its way loose off the poi. What you're looking for is something thin and flexible, so you're looking for t-shirt materials, old pillowcases and old sheets, things of that nature. and that will work well for you. But if you're not sure, what you can do is just get a tennis ball, wrap the material around and see how it behaves. So let's just recap. For the lesson today, you're going to need wool or similar for your huka huka, wool or similar for your taura, stuffing for your upoko, and a cover for your upoko. You'll also need some extra wool or string because you are going to be tying different parts of the poi. You'll need some scissors, and you'll need something to secure the cord to as you do your plaiting because you need it to have some tension. And the final thing you need is a puka or a can or something similar, because when you make your huka huka, you're going to be wrapping and looping it around. To make the huka huka, you need your puka or can or whatever object you've chosen to wrap your wool around, some scissors and your wool. Now, the number of loops you're going to do determines how thick and fluffy your tail is. So the more loops, the thicker it is. But it's up to you how much material you've got available. So I'm going to do, for this thickness of wool, 80 loops, and it is just a matter of holding it at one end and just looping it around. And don't lose count as you go because that's easy to do. 3, Now when you get to your chosen number, just snip off the end, leave a little gap because it does spring back, and leave the loop on the object if you can, because what you need to do is keep the loop open. This is what I did earlier, because you're going to thread the cord through the middle, and believe me, when you lose that middle, it is a pain to re-find. So the ideal measurement for a short poi is from your palm to your inner elbow. So if I'm going to do that for myself, I'm going to hold the wool here, bring it to my inner elbow, and that's the length I want. Okay, so that is the length I need for my short poi. What I am going to do is I'm going to add another about half length again, because as you plait you lose your length, and at the end of the cord you do also need to make a couple of knots, so you need to have a little bit extra at the end. So to start making the strands, I'm going to first double my length. Okay, and now this is my new measuring point, because with the double length, as you thread it through like this and bring it back again, it's going to reinstate your original cord length. Okay, so you need to do double lengths so that you can loop it through the huka huka, and then it'll reinstate the cord length that you need. So for this thickness of wool, I'm going to do 8 strands altogether. So that's 1, 2 lengths. And I'm going to come back again with third length, and I'm going to keep going until I have my 8 lengths. Then I'm going to cut, and this will be the cord for my poi. So you'll end up with your lengths like so. So you'll have 8 altogether, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so when you bring them back together through the tail, you'll end up with 8 on each side. Now what I've done is used different colours just so that it's going to be easier for you to see when I do the plaiting. So before we do that, we'll get our huka huka, bring that off the object, just keep your finger in the middle so that you can keep the loop. and then we're going to thread the cord through the middle. So grab the cord and through, then even the cord up, and then this is what we're going to secure to whatever object you've chosen. Now what I've got is a board with a fold back clip. So I'm just going to use that for now. So I'll just secure that. As I said, you can use a handle of some sort, but what you're looking for is some way of keeping tension as you make the plait. So what you need to do is just separate the strands out, and what you're going to do is separate them out in groups of 4. So I'm going to try to bring all my colours together, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, but you just need to separate them out into 4 groups of an even number. In this case, there'll be 4 in each group for us. So what I've done is I've brought my strands together, so I've got 4 in each group, and I will just use one of the ties we had just to make this up a bit, a little bit easier to work with. So I'm just going to make it a little bit tight around here where the huka and the toda join up. So just try to pull it as tight and as close to the huka as possible. And I'm just going to do a bow on that just because I'm going to release it a little bit later. So you're going to have your 4 groups. I'll just tidy that up a bit. Separated out like so. So you've got the arms and the legs. And the pattern that you're going to be using today is from this side to this side. You want to get this upper outer one into the middle, and then this upper outer one into the middle. So you're going to go behind 2 over 1. Reinstate the shape, and then behind 2 over 1. Other side, behind 2 over 1. Other side, behind 2 and over 1. Behind 2 over 1, behind 2 over 1 is the pattern that we're using as we shift from side to side. So I'll just undo this and talk about another little trick that you need to do. So as with all braiding, you do need to keep the tension on, otherwise your plait or your braid becomes a little bit messy. So the first few plaits that you do, first few rows that you do are the most important because that's how you get it nice and tight and close to this huka up here. Okay, so hopefully this you can see, so I'm going to keep it really tight and go under 2 and over 1. I'm just going to hold it there, hold it nice and tight so that I can get this bit ready. And you don't need to worry about holding these so much, just make sure that your loop back is tightly held. Okay, so from the other side, I'm going to go under 2 and over 1. Okay, now I'll hold that again and move this out of the way so that we're back in position. Okay, and from the other side again, so we're going to go under 2 and over 1. Okay, keeping the tension pulling as we go. Move everything back to the position so that you can keep it, so you can see it a little bit more easily. Under 2 over 1. 2 over 1. under 2 over 1, back to position. This one goes under 2 over 1, under 2 over 1, under 2 over 1. Do a few more so you can see the pattern merging. Under 2 over 1, under 2 over 1, under 2, 1, under 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, to position. And I'll just pause it there. Now, if you do pause it, make sure that you hold the middle too. Okay, so if I let this go, just gently, you can see that with the tension released, the wool gets a little bit looser. So you are going to get it a little bit thicker. So get it as thick as you like. The smaller and the thinner the cord, the more flexible it is. So if you're making the short poi, it's good to have a bit of a thinner poi there. Okay, and the thing I'd say is that it's really easy to lose track of where you are, and it's really easy to forget which side you're moving from. So when I'm looking at the cords like this, I can see that this middle strand set is over the top. And it's pointing that way, so I know the next one I need to grab is this one. Because as I bring this one under 2 and over 1, it will grab and hold on to that middle position. And it wouldn't have worked that way. So I know that because this is uppermost, it's this one I need to do next. So left. So I'm going to keep on going to the end, and then we'll see when we tie off. So we're just going to pause it there because we're going to check and see if the cord is long enough. So just check, release the tension a bit, because when you let it go as you make the poi, the wool will bounce back. Okay, so make sure it's a little bit looser. So I want it from my poi to my inner elbow. So I'm going to do another few, and then this one will be finished. Just going to check once more. So release the tension a little bit. So it's going from there to here. So that's a good length. So I'm just going to grab these and tie a knot. What I tend to do is tie 2 together on one side and the other 2 together on the other side. And the only reason I do this is because sometimes I have thicker material, and if you tie all of the strands together, it can be hard to get a really good grip with your knot. Okay, so that's it, and I've got quite a lot here to work with for attaching my inner core for my upoko. So we're going to start doing the stuffing for the upoko. Now I am going to use fabric today, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but you can use newspaper. And the trick is with both the newspaper and the fabric is to create an inner ngako, or an inner heart to the upoko. And you're going to wrap this around that first little starter circle, and then you're going to wrap around it. Okay, so that's going to help keep the cord inside the upoko and not come loose later. So with this particular fabric, again, I want something in the middle that acts as a little bit of an anchor. We cut off the sleeve first of all. Please check to make sure that no one wants the kakahu that you're cutting up. Okay. Really tight. try to wrap the sleeve around a bit so that I've got a little bit of a secure ball there. Okay, and now we're going to put it in the middle. I'm going to grab a couple of strands from either side and just use your best judgment about what you think will keep this secure. So I'll grab a couple from here, a couple from here, bring them across and tie them. Oops. Eventually tie them tight. I'm going to do a double knot as well. Don't worry too much about things being crooked at this point because you can make up for that later. And then just keep going until you've secured all of your strands. So a couple of things that does is that makes sure that the plait doesn't unknot, doesn't undo itself, and it keeps this little part secure. So I'll keep doing that for a little while until I'm happy that everything's put and in place. And then what you can do once everything feels pretty good is that you can tie all of these strands together, and that will again make sure everything's as secure as possible. So I'm going to keep going around this little anchor and building it up into a ball shape. So what helps too is that your final layer is as smooth as possible, because then that's what's going to show when you put your cover on. For this one, I'm actually going to bulk it out a little bit with some paper. So I don't want to get it getting too heavy with the fabric. Now I'm going to put a bit of fabric on it just to smooth out some of these bumps, because then I'm going to cover it up. I'm going to round it out as much as possible as I go. Okay, and then this is my internal layer, so I'm going to trim that off as well. Cut the main part and then I will tie it off. Make sure I'm happy with the shape. Now I'll get some spare wool and tie that together. Okay, so this is my inner cover, and I'll just trim some of the paper that's sticking out and some more of this fabric. I just realised I'm cutting like a bit of a lunatic as well. Just be careful when you're cutting. And now I'm going to get the material that I did want to use, which is some stretchy black fabric, and I'll bring that over, cover that. So adjust that so that it's nice and smooth, and then grab some of the spare wool that you have again to tie your cover off. Make sure it's secure. Do a couple of ties, pull it tight. I'm using a double length of the wool because the wool does stretch when you pull it tight. So you can find that it snaps on you when you're doing very tight knotting. So just to counteract that, I'm using twice the thread length. Okay, and so now you trim the frill again. Okay, now we're just going to complete the hooker. So I've attached the cord to my fold back clip again, just so I can pull on the hooker. Now undone the temporary tie, And what that's done is that's made sure that there's no big gap between where the plait starts and your hookah starts as well. Sometimes you can see people's having quite big gaps in here between the hookah and the plait, and that temporary tie just helps with that. Now I have already trimmed the bottoms of my tassels because my camera went a little bit funny, but this is what you do. So you make sure that you comb your strands, whatever you're using, so that they're all going in the same direction. You're not having the strands go crisscrossed because that will do your head in when you do the tie off. Okay, so just with your fingers, just comb through and make sure that you're all nicely moving in the same direction. And then take your spare wool to tie, and wherever you tie it off, that's basically the size of the ball. So if I tie it here, just hold it just to check around, make sure that all of the strands are behaving well and sitting well. Okay, and now I'm going to tie a knot. I'll tie one on this side, and then I'm just going to flip it over and tie a couple on the other side. Now, when I thought the camera was filming, but it wasn't, I trimmed the loops, but basically what you do is hold the hookah in your hand in a bit of a round shape. Then you're going to trim so that it's fairly straight, and then you can use your finger or the edge of the scissors just to run back and forth around the tail. And what that will do is that will bring up any strands that had gotten caught, because otherwise those are the ones that will still be longer than the others. So you can catch those. And once you have it, just give it a bit of a shake, and then just run your fingers through the tassels just to make sure you haven't missed any of the loops. Okay, and just check and make sure you're happy with the length all around. And that's your completed poi with your hookah, your plaited toira and your upoko. And if you'd like to see some more examples of poi, jump over to my website, which is koakoa, Koakoa, design.co.nz. And I will be putting up some more tutorials and videos there over time. Thank you for your time. Ngā mihi.